In this video, we're going to look at how to take some data from an experiment, in this case an experiment involving two springs and their extension with mass, and turning them into a graph, turning that data into a graph. So we've got Excel open here. We're going to double click on our blank workbook. And in this case, we've got data on two springs, so we'll call them spring 1 and spring 2. As you can see there. I'm going to double click where B and C meet, and we C and D meet just to make it so they fit nicely. Now the data we've actually got, the masses that we used were 200 grams, and you'll notice I'm not putting the unit, just the numbers 180, 160, 140 and 100. Spring 1, which is quite a long spring, it extended in this case by 65 millimeters. Again, going to avoid the units, we'll put those in the graph later. At the next one it was 60 millimeters, at the next one it was 55, and when we think we're seeing a trend and then something funny happens, then we've got 45 and then 30 for our last one. And for spring 2, which is a smaller, wider spring, we've got this. We've got 75, then we've got 65, 55, again seeing a trend that then suddenly might not work, 45, and then 35. So now I've got everything I need. If I want to make it a table that I want to put into a Word document or something, then normally it looks tidy if we put the borders in. So I've done that there. And again, double clicking here, you'll see made that a little bit neater. So I could actually copy that by highlighting it, right clicking and going copy, then pasting it into here, right click, paste, and just choosing the first option. So that was one of our instructions for our piece of homework, is that we had to import that from Excel, and we've done that there. There's no units given, so it might be a good idea in here to actually put the units with it. But we didn't want it before in the Excel document because it actually stuffs things up for us a little bit. And probably a good idea here would be to give a heading, so spring extension, with different masses, something like that. Okay, so we've got a title, we've got a table. See here I've said import your graph from Excel, so that's our next thing. We're going to make the graph. While we've got this highlighted, we can click up here to insert, and we want a scatter chart because it's the easiest type. And there's a whole lot, as I highlight over them, different types of charts are made. I personally prefer it to be a smoother line because I can see a trend a bit more easily, sometimes with the dots to show me what's happening. In this case, I could do either of these and it would give quite a good graph to show me a trend. So I'm going to go with this one here. And you'll see it just says chart title here. There's nothing on the axis, so it's not a very good graph yet. So I'm going to double click on my title and delete that. And I'm going to call it spring extension, or stretch actually, because that was the word we used in the experiment. These numbers here at the moment on what's called the x-axis along the bottom and the y-axis up the side, they don't mean a lot to me. So I'm going to add a chart element. I'm going to add axis titles. So if I go with the vertical first, you'll see here, I can highlight that word and change it. Those numbers up the side, if I look at my original table, which is up here, those are the extensions or stretch. So I go stretch, and that was measured in millimeters, so I put that unit in brackets there. These numbers at the bottom still don't mean anything, so I'm going to add another chart element, axis title, primary horizontal. And again, I'm going to name it. These here are mass measured in grams. Now I've got a good graph. I actually prefer to go with it looking something like that. I just think it looks nicer. There are other things I could add in, a line of best fit and so on, but we'll do that in the future. What I can see is that as the mass gets bigger and bigger, Spring 1 seems to be stretching less than Spring 2. So there's something about what they're made of that is allowing them to stretch different amounts, or there are some errors in our experiment. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to click on the border of my, right click on the border of my graph, and I'm going to paste. Sorry, not paste, I've done that wrong. I'm going to copy. Then I'm going to go back to my Word file that's got my lab report, and I'm going to right click and paste. Just the first option tends to do a good job. I want the graph to be a bit bigger, so I'm going to grab the bottom corner and indeed make it bigger. There we are, stretch it out, how appropriate. Now, this isn't a great graph because normally a graph would take the line to the edge of the graph. So this would be extended out, this would be extended out, because graphs tend to show us a trend. But we don't have enough data for that. So what we could say in our discussion is that we probably needed to do the experiment a few more times, or to have more values so that we could see the trend more obviously. But that's going to be coming later. So just to recap, we have done a table without units in Excel. We've copied it and pasted it, putting units in so that it's more important, and giving it a title. We then, in Excel, have used that highlighted data to insert a, in this case, scatter chart. Then we've personalized it by adding some elements such as title and axis titles. Then we've been able to copy it, paste it, and resize it to make it look good in our lab report.